When does the AP basketball poll come out?
It comes out on Monday afternoons.
Okay. What was Tennessee in the AP poll? Not this week, but last week.
Last week, Tennessee was 4th in the AP poll.
Okay. What did they do in the 7 days following?
They beat a top 25 team, and then they beat a team with 17 wins that is projected to make the NCAA tournament on the road by 18 points.
Okay. And what happened in the latest AP poll?
They somehow dropped a spot from 4th to 5th.
Okay, now I'm going to ask you to give me a reason why they dropped. And perhaps it's another team that did more than they did over the past week. But to me, based off what you said, it makes absolutely no sense that they would have dropped. So can you give me a possible reason? You may be reaching. I understand that. I'm not going to record this and hold it against you that Caleb said you should drop in the AP poll even when you lose. But what's the deal?
They bumped Florida ahead of Tennessee because Florida went to Auburn, the number 1 team in the nation, and beat them on the road. They didn't want to drop Auburn too much because that's only Auburn's second loss. Auburn still has the best record in college basketball on a top 5 strength of schedule. So they stayed at number 1 in the AP and dropped to number 2 in the coaches, but they didn't want to bump Auburn too much. Never mind the fact that Tennessee beat Florida by 22 Saturdays ago. However, okay, I think that should count for something to keep Tennessee ahead of Florida for now, but I get it if you say, well, Florida beat Tennessee by 30 at home and then they just beat Auburn on the road. So if you say you want to move Florida ahead of Tennessee, fine. Here's my problem. You move Florida ahead of Tennessee. You tie them for 3rd in the AP poll with Duke, who also lost, which I want to get to. Tennessee has played Florida twice and Auburn once. So by putting these teams this high, you're acknowledging Tennessee has had a brutal schedule facing who you AP voters say is the number 1 team and who you also say is the number 3 team in the nation. They've got 3 games against those 2 teams, and Tennessee's 20-4. So you're acknowledging their greatness. My issue is Duke. Duke is 20-3. They lost to Clemson over the weekend. Tennessee is 20-4. You cannot hold that 1 game difference in a loss against Tennessee versus Duke when you're openly saying Tennessee has played 3 games against the number 1 and number 3 teams in the nation that we're calling.
And you're playing in the nation's best basketball conference. There, I said it, Dukies.
Yeah, consistently. And the data proves Tennessee's schedule strength is significantly better than Duke's. So when you take that into account, I'm sorry, man. Based on the criteria the AP poll goes, and it's not the net rankings, because the net rankings would have Duke ahead of Tennessee right now, which is fine. I get it. They have their own philosophy. But based on the AP criteria, there's no way that they should be behind Duke. There's absolutely no way they should be behind Duke.
Okay, so I have a couple of years on you, and I can recall a time where Florida, the University of Florida, was kind of looked at as a football school that played basketball. And if you threw them a bone, and I mentioned this yesterday, they throw Tennessee a bone. Hey, you can be a 2 seed in the tournament when really you should have been a 1, or you can be a 4 when you should have been a 2. I've been at those press conferences where they have the team there and they announce it and they're sad and you can tell they're disappointed. I feel like Florida was like that. Again, probably a little bit before your time, right? Before the Billy Donovan back-to-backs?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, no, that was before the Billy Donovan era. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have to break through and win one. And I think that is the biggest concern. And you're right, Joe Vols 64. Rankings don't matter until the season is over, but they kind of do. And I don't think, Adam, that everybody hates Tennessee, but I think they look at it as you're just doing them a favor of giving them a high ranking or a high seed. You know what this tells me? And again, Joe, rankings don't matter until the end of the season, but they kind of do, because this tells me that if Tennessee's between a 1 and a 2 seed, there ain't no way they're getting a 1 seed.
No, you're right. I mean, that they're making that very clear. And for what it's worth, I mean, accomplishments mean something in basketball, and getting a 1 seed would be an accomplishment in basketball, to be honest, guys. So that's something you can not really hang a banner, but you can hang your hat on, right? That you got a 1 seed in the NCAA tournament, like your first ever number 1 seed.
Yeah, I mean, just don't go lose against the 16. That'd be pretty embarrassing. But and
if anybody would, it could be Rick Barnes. Sorry.
That is just awful. Rick somewhere's ears are burning. He's like, "What did I just do?"
Oh, he's praying. What are you talking about? It's 11:50 on a Tuesday. He's probably in church praying. No, Rick Barnes.
Probably. I'm actually going to his church on Sunday. By the way.
Really? He's Protestant, right? Or is he Baptist?
Well, I am. So I hope we're going to the same. Yeah. So yeah. But
because I know Nick Saban went to a mass. He would go to mass every week regularly to Alabama.
Oh, I thought he went every morning.
Yeah. Oh, I think it was every morning. Yeah. And he decided to go to a smaller mass down the road because a bunch of Protestant Alabama fans who probably were on the anti-Catholic train before Nick Saban got there decided, I'm going to go to Catholic mass now. You know, I've just decided I'm Catholic, I guess. And then started going there all the time because they had to touch the great Saban. So.
Right. And fortunately, Mike Shula was at the door to show him where the restroom was.
All right. Nick Saban should have hired him to do that.
Yeah, that's right. He just comes up to me. Nick Saban goes, I got to pee. It's not over there. All right. So, are we good here? Or because I want to get
I wanted to talk a little bit, just real quickly about this seating thing. I think that, I mean, it's not like the biggest deal. I get it, what people are talking about, but it's like this is the classic blue blood versus non-blue blood, because there's no way you can look at Tennessee's and Duke's resumes and say that Tennessee's not better than Duke. And by the way, in the coaches poll, Tennessee is number 4 and Duke is number 5, so Tennessee didn't drop. I have no problem with them not moving up despite last week's impressive run, because that, like, the Florida, Alabama, and Auburn are just brutally good. I have a problem with them dropping, though. Just doesn't make sense is the way I want to kind of close this out.
I got no argument with that, except it does make sense because it's Duke, and that's going to start to slip away over time. Just like the Southwest Conference, way before your time, was considered the best football conference. The Big Ten was considered the best football conference. Well, over time, it became the SEC. Now, we'll see what happens now. But it's going to take a while for the ACC to take a slip. But I think it'll happen sooner rather than later because of NIL money. I want to remind you, our friends at Dynasty Pools and Spas have free prizes for you from Off the Hook Sports if you just stop by their Athens exit. And they'll also give you $500 off if you mention Off the Hook Sports. And it comes with everything, the steps, the cover lift. It's all right there. Dynasty Pools and Spas. And